Hello, explorers. Welcome back to...
We're tackling a really significant issue. It's about the experiences of Naga people facing racism, specifically in Indian cities.
Right.
We've got some, well, pretty compelling material here. It's from firsthand accounts, observations, all drawn from a piece called Mainland Racism, What Nagas Face in Indian Cities.
It's powerful stuff.
It is. And our goal with this deep dive really is to try and get a deeper understanding of the challenges, give a clearer picture of this struggle that, let's be honest, often goes unseen.
And the efforts for recognition, for equality.
Exactly. Which it kind of makes you think, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Have you ever witnessed someone being treated differently just because of how they look or where they're from, or maybe even unknowingly participated?
That's a heavy question to start with, but a necessary one. Because often, these discussions about Indian identity, they can kind of sideline the very real, distinct experiences of communities like the Nagas from the Northeast. This dive should help sharpen that focus. And the source material, it just jumps right in. It asks that really direct, painful question. Have you ever been called chinky?
Oof, yeah.
And it immediately links that to like the mocking laughs, the feeling of being told you're not Indian enough.
It is confronting, but it forces you to grapple with a reality that many Nagas face daily. And then you get to that story, the woman in Bangalore denied housing.
Yeah, that one stood out.
It's shocking to be told point blank, based on pure prejudice, we don't rent to people like you. You're all into drugs and strange food. I mean...
It's that feeling of being dehumanized, isn't it?
Yeah.
It just jumps off the page.
Totally. More than just refusal. It's like an attack on her dignity.
Exactly. And it shows how deep these biases run. Not just casual stuff, but things like finding a home. It kind of draws this prejudice line, saying who belongs and who doesn't, based on stereotypes.
And the source makes a really good point that, it's not always overt aggression. Often it's subtler things.
Right. That's key. These constant, small-ish things that just build up and do real damage over time.
Like what kinds of things are we talking about?
Well, things like being passed over for jobs, feeling invisible in restaurants, or always getting asked those ignorant questions.
Oh, like the "Are you from China?" one?
Yeah, or even, "Do you speak Indian?" I mean, what does that even mean? Individually, maybe minor, but together it's incredibly isolating.
And those statistics really hit hard, that 2014 study mentioned.
The Northeast Support Center one.
Over 78% of people from the Northeast reporting discrimination in metro cities. 78%. That's huge.
It really is. And it highlights this massive gap between their lived reality and sort of the general public awareness.
Or concern, yeah.
And what really comes through is the systemic side of it. It's not just individuals being prejudiced, it seeps into institutions.
You mean like that story about the police?
Yeah, the young man in Delhi, his sister gets harassed, and the police officer is just dismissive, judgmental even, blaming her almost.
That's off.
It really is. It points to a lack of understanding, maybe even institutional bias. Like the system itself isn't protecting people equally.
So first you face the racism, and then the people who are supposed to help don't, or make it worse.
It's a double blow, exactly. It just destroys trust.
Yeah.
Creates this climate of fear.
Yeah, you can see why.
And the source shows this prejudice isn't just about looks or public interactions. It actually digs deeper into culture, into identity itself.
That part really got me. The pressure on Naga students when they leave home to pick Hindi or Sanskrit.
Instead of their own languages.
Yeah. It feels like this quiet way of erasing their culture, and then how their festivals, their food, it gets mocked or exoticized, like it's weird or other.
It's seen as something alien, not part of the normal Indian fabric. And connecting that to the bigger picture, these aren't just jokes, are they?
No.
Like that voiceover line says, mocking a Naga meal, it's like mocking a whole tradition. It's framed as a kind of violence, an erasure.
Yeah, invalidating their whole history, their sense of self, makes you question how we even define Indian, doesn't it? If it doesn't include all this diversity.
Absolutely. Which then leads into why so many victims don't report these incidents.
Right. The source talks about fear of backlash, maybe?
For sure. But also just a total lack of faith in the system. After experiences like that police story,
yeah.
Why would you trust them?
You wouldn't. It makes sense.
And this highlights a huge problem for tackling discrimination. If people don't trust the authorities, how do you even start?
And we saw the tragic outcome with Nito Tanya in Delhi back in 2014, mocked for how he looked, and then...
Yeah. A horrific reminder of where unchecked prejudice can lead.
Yeah.
That case got attention, thankfully, but you have to assume it's just the visible part of a much bigger problem. So much goes unreported.
It must. And that quote from the 19-year-old girl in Mumbai, Stadat, told to go back to China.
Awful.
But her biggest fear was being seen as a troublemaker if she reported it. That says so much.
It really does. It shows the impossible bind people are in. Suffer in silence, or risk making things even worse by speaking up.
It's a terrible choice to have to make. And then the source brings it into the modern age, talking about digital racism.
Right, because online spaces, well, they can amplify everything, can't they? Both the good and the bad.
So how does this racism show up online against Nagas?
The source gives examples like WhatsApp forwards, Instagram reels, things that just reduce people to stereotypes,
Yeah.
often sexualized ones like hot or wild, or just foreigners.
Ugh.
And it mentions tokenization and fetishization as part of this digital racism.
Can you break those down a bit? Tokenization is like superficial inclusion.
Yeah, like having one Naga person in something to look diverse, but without any real respect or understanding.
Oh.
And fetishization is, well, reducing people to these exotic stereotypes, often based on their ethnicity, sometimes sexualizing them.
Okay, I get it. And that line from the voiceover nails it. Being exoticized is not acceptance, it's objectification.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Such a crucial point. Being seen as different or interesting isn't the same as being seen as an equal human being,
Not at all. It keeps that distance, that otherness.
which can be just as harmful as open hostility, really.
But thankfully, the story doesn't just stop at the problems. The source talks about resistance, about Naga youth finding their voice.
Yes, and that's a really important, hopeful shift. This rise in activism, student unions getting involved, digital creators sharing their stories online.
Building that counter-narrative
Precisely. Challenging the stereotypes head on.
and using things like hashtags.
Yeah, like hashtag Northeast is not foreign, or hashtag Nagasari Indians too. Simple, direct messages. And platforms like that Instagram page at Northeast Voices, creating spaces for these voices.
That's great.
And there's that powerful quote from the Naga activist, sums it all up.
Which one was that?
We're not here to ask for your pity. We're demanding respect, dignity, and equal space in the Indian narrative.
Wow, yeah. That's not asking, that's demanding. Asserting their rightful place.
Exactly. Rejecting victimhood, demanding equality.
As they absolutely should. It's a fundamental right. And then finally, the source gets into solutions, concrete steps, which is crucial, right? Identifying the problem is one thing, but what do we do?
Absolutely. And it lays out some key areas: education, policing, representation, and the need for a specific anti-racism law.
Okay, let's take those one by one. Education reform first, making sure Northeast history and culture are actually in Indian textbooks. That feels foundational.
Totally. How can you break down stereotypes if kids aren't even learning about these regions, these people, as part of India?
Right. It's about building a more inclusive, accurate picture of the country from the start, dismantling that us versus them thing.
Exactly. Then there's police sensitization, given the stories we heard.
Yeah, that seems urgent. Proper anti-racism training, real accountability for officers, making sure they protect everyone equally.
It needs to be more than just ticking a box, though. It needs a real shift in mindset, understanding the specific ways communities like the Nagas face discrimination.
Definitely. And then representation, getting more Naga and Northeastern voices in media, films, politics.
Crucial. If you're always absent or just shown as a stereotype in the mainstream, it just reinforces that feeling of being excluded.
And having people from the community shaping those narratives from the inside, challenging the old views.
Yes, making sure diverse perspectives aren't just heard, but actually valued in all parts of public life.
And the last point, a strong national anti-discrimination law that specifically calls out racism.
That feels like a really big, necessary step. It sends a clear message. Racism isn't acceptable. And it gives people actual legal tools for protection and justice.
A framework for accountability.
Precisely. A vital tool in that fight for equality.
Well, this has been quite a deep dive. Important, but definitely difficult at times, hearing these accounts.
It has. It really forces you to confront some uncomfortable truths about prejudice that still exists.
And it brings us back to everyone listening. As you've heard these stories today, maybe take a moment to think. Have there been times you've overlooked something similar, maybe dismissed prejudice, perhaps not against Nagas, but other groups? It's definitely worth reflecting on.
Because the pain and injustice described in these accounts are very real. It's so important to validate these experiences, their identity, their heritage, It's not up for debate or negotiation.
Absolutely not. Their identity, their culture, their place in India, it's theirs, period.
Which leaves us with a final thought to maybe Taiwan. Given the incredible history and culture of the Northeast, and yet these constant challenges its people face elsewhere in India, what deeper assumptions that we need to re-examine about what it means to be Indian, about who belongs, not just as individuals, but, as a whole society? Are our narratives truly big enough for everyone?